Alright, so I'm a couple days late to the game on this one, but I feel on a day like today, this video is kind of appropriate. I'm going to try to find some kind of humor to put in this video, but I can't make any promises as I am just a little bit heated on this topic. It's kind of been brewing for a couple of days, and yeah, okay, so let's jump into it. This is basically about social justice, and I, I I'm starting to lose sight of what even is the meaning of that anymore. I mean, not that I ever truly understood it to begin with, but so today is the whole national, mental health awareness project semicolon day, you know, like I said, mental health awareness, suicide prevention, all of that, uh, all very important, hits very close to home for me, matters. Um, but where does that stand in the realm of social justice? You know, of course, race and sexuality and gender and all of that always comes into the forefront when you're seeing social justice issues. And you'd think that mental health would be a really big one, but I don't feel like it is. Um, so on that note, I want to bring up H3H3 Productions, Ethan and Ela Klein, and a tweet that Ethan made a few days ago. Now, Ethan has stated publicly, and as he even did in his apology video, which I'm not gonna lie, I thought was brilliant, um, and it was heavy but kind of funny. Um, he suffers from a medically recognized, diagnosable mental disorder, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. It's a real thing. It is legit, and people do suffer from it. As with any mental disorder. Now, how people with mental disorders cope with the symptoms or situations or circumstances, are different. People do whatever they have to do, to take the edge off or, make it bearable. And everybody experiences mental illnesses and disorders differently, and they cope with them differently. Ethan is a comedian. That is what he does. That's what he's good at. That's what makes him happy. That is his life. He made a tweet, and being someone with OCD, which I can't imagine what that's like. I could tell you what bipolar disorder is like all day long, but OCD, I don't know. I have close friends who have been diagnosed OCD, and I know how it affects them. So I know it's not easy. I know that there are things that are bad. I know there's varying degrees, and I don't know what Ethan's situation is like, but I'm sure it can be challenging. Now, back to his tweet. Um, he used a public restroom, and I know how uncomfortable I am, me using a public restroom. So I can't even fathom what it would be like to use a public restroom for someone suffering from OCD. And especially if, their man parts touch the inside of the toilet. I mean, it freaks me out when I do it. It's not that big of a deal, but yeah, it takes me a minute to get past it. But for someone like Ethan, I imagine it's probably infinitely worse. And his tweet was, my dick touched the inside of the toilet. Guess I have to cut my dick off now and live as a woman. You know, I get it. There's nothing offensive about that. That was a joke. You know, it was funny because it's like, your dick touches the inside of the toilet. Oh, shit, what are you going to do? Oh, cut it off. Oh, what are you going to do then? You don't have a dick. Well, I'll just live as a woman. It was funny. And sure, he furthered that by commenting on his own tweet saying, I'm Ellen now. Call me Ellen. And I don't know if that's the part where people took the greatest offense or if they took that out of context, but it's pretty simple. His name's Ethan. His name begins with an E. Looking for, a uh, girl name that began with an E, and Ellen was the first thing that came to mind. Uh, Ethan, Ellen. It to me it made sense immediately. I saw it for what it was. And it was a harmless joke. I didn't think it was directed at anybody. I didn't find it distasteful in any way. It was a simple joke, but apparently um, this received a lot of backlash and retweets of people accusing uh, Ethan of being like transphobic and bigoted and all of this stuff, and it's just it's humorous, but it's not like it's not funny, and it's sad. It is what it is. Like as a society, and especially with this whole social justice movement, we're supposed to be empathetic to one another, but I feel like that is becoming lost more and more. It's becoming more about crusades and witch hunts than it is legitimately helping people. It seems more like manufactured outrage and inserting more hate and division into areas where there's nothing wrong. I mean, there's no need for that anywhere. Like that's the exact opposite of what we need to be trying to accomplish as a society. You know, what happened to critical thinking and trying to understand each other? So we're gonna flip the social justice script right now just a little. So let's put mental health awareness in the forefront of this situation. Now, we've already covered the whole Ethan OCD thing. Now, as I said, people experience and cope with their mental disorders differently. So let's take someone who, say, suffers from OCD and has an experience that is very uncomfortable for them, and they cope with it the best and most comfortable way they know how, which is comedy. And they make a lighthearted joke at their own expense, but then people who do not suffer or understand this particular mental disorder decide to start shaming and harassing, guilting and bullying this person because of how they coped with their mental illness. Kind of seems like bullying, maybe? Maybe it kind of seems like the exact antithesis of what social justice is supposed to be. Hypocritical, if you will. Like a double standard or something. Maybe. Inherently wrong. Yes, yes, it is. Um, you, people have brains, and we all have a moral compass. We know the difference between right and wrong. Our perceptions and levels of right and wrong may differ slightly. There may be gray areas, and that's part of being human. That's where our egos come into play, and I guess that's a large part of where all these soapboxes and high horses come from. And it's just wrong. Jokes have, as Ethan has explained in some of his videos on other things, having to defend other people for similar situations, there's context and there is intent. And if there is no ill direction or intent in a joke, why put some there? Why try to perpetuate some kind of ill will and just put people at each other's throats and create more discord when it's not there. It doesn't exist in that situation, in that time, that place. It's not there. There's this hate being created, and it's unwarranted and it's unfair, and it's childish, it's egotistical, it's borderline narcissistic. It, it's like people are trying so desperately to be accepted into this social, melting pot, that people are trying to intentionally marginalize themselves or be such an ally that they lose sight of what it really is to truly be a friend or ally. It's like okay, so going through the comments on Ethan's apology video, I didn't see very many trans people that were offended. Most of them actually came to his defense. I did see a lot of that, which was refreshing. As people using their thought process to look at it from a logical standpoint and be like, yeah, it was a simple joke and it wasn't directed at anyone. If anything, ultimately it was directed at himself. It wasn't meant to be harmful or hurtful to anyone. There was no that intention was not even underlying in any way, shape, or form. How people brought something like that to the forefront and completely discredited the whole joke for what it was and made it into this hateful thing, it's just beyond me. Like, how can we break the shackles of ignorance and you know build empathy between each other and learn how to accept each other and understand each other and grow as a society and unite. And if we don't have the ability to communicate, if people are so quick to jump to slinging like just insults and immediately seeing things that aren't there and using that as a basis for attack, like how can we possibly come to an understanding or be able to communicate intelligently or logically or use reason with one another, or remain open-minded in any way, shape, or form? Like, open-mindedness has become like a foreign concept to most people. It's like, if you don't immediately see their opinion or point of view or perception is right, like you're just deemed all sorts of just awful words and labels for no reason. It's like, well, maybe you should take a moment and open your mind and try to understand where the other person is coming from. If someone's trying to explain themselves, hey, yeah, listen, I have this mental disorder and this is how I deal with it. It wasn't directed at anybody. I didn't mean it towards anybody in any way, shape, or form, you know. But to continue, like, well, and call that person thoughtless or, careless or whatever, yeah, after they've explained themselves, to continue it, it's beating a dead horse. And there's no reason for it. Like, we have the ability to use our brains and think logically. You know, people. Oh God, I'm so frustrated. If people would just take a few moments and try to understand each other rather than immediately react to everything and to get offended by everything, you know, we'd have a better chance of progressing, of having a better future and less problems, especially on the internet. I mean, this place has become a trash hole. It really has. I mean, the comment sections on virtually any YouTube video almost today, it's just like a shit fest. And it's sad. It's really sad because as a society, we can do better. It's not that difficult. You know, mental health and mental disorders and mental illness and all of that is real. People do kill themselves every single day, and the numbers are kind of astounding. I mean, there's like, what, over 400,000 people like kill themselves every year. I don't know about you, but to me that's a pretty large number, and it's unnecessary. And I really don't see Ethan killing himself over this, but not all people are Ethan. You know, some people wouldn't handle the backlash. Some people would kill themselves because they already feel completely destitute and have a hard time coping with their own mental illness and don't know what to do. And when they do the only thing they know how, and it offends other people, that's the last straw for some, and they don't make it. And we as a society can make a difference if we just try. You know, stop making it about some social political standing or how you look to your friends. If you're moral enough, like just know the difference between right and wrong. Do what's right, but don't put wrong where there isn't any. You know, if your friends are suffering, if your friends are reaching out to you, if your friends are talking negatively about themselves, if they're saying they're uninterested in life, pay attention. Reach out. Don't wait for them to reach out to you. Because chances are they're not going to, because they feel like no one's going to care. I know this from experience. I've been there countless times. You know, or they're embarrassed. Either way, 9 times out of 10, is if someone seems like there's some shit going on, but they're not directly telling you, don't wait. Say something. Like, reach out to them because you could save their life. Stop shaming people. Stop just going on these crusades and witch hunts and start looking for where you can actually be beneficial to someone else's life. And it doesn't have to be someone who has a mental disorder. I mean, it can be any disability or just, anything. Like, if someone's just down on their luck, if someone's experiencing some kind of hardship, if someone has a loss in the family, like anything, it if you have an opportunity to raise somebody else up in any way, shape, or form, or to make a difference in your community, or to make a positive change in the world without having to use your ego to destroy someone else, like, be productive, be constructive, be positive. That's what we need. That's all I'm going to say on that. Thanks for watching. I promise the next video is going to be funny. I almost forgot. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to hear me fart in my next video. It'll happen. All right.